Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's video. This week I'm turning a cedar bowl. The blank was given to me by Tim over at Osmology 101, and I will link his channel in the video description. Using a woodworm screw in the 4-jaw chuck to mount the bowl, and I will use the tailstock for as long as I can. And with the tailstock up and the tool rest adjusted, I turn the lathe on, and the first speed is around 500 RPMs. Starting with the Carter & Sons bowl gouge, newly sharpened. So just going slow the first few passes to make it round, which it'll take a few more, several more. Light passes to make it completely round without taking off too much material. I wanted to keep as much as possible. Still some bark left on there, which I do fight with a little bit to get that off in places. Some pull cuts here. And this is only the second cedar bowl I've turned, so thanks Tim again for the blank. I really appreciate it. It does make your shop smell good, but the fine dust does get everywhere. You have to wear a mask. Not that you don't with other wood, but this one will get everywhere on you in your nose and mouth if you don't wear a mask. So kind of studying the bowl here, figuring out what shape I want to make it and where I want to put the resin. I will be using some Total Boat resin for some voids in this bowl. And when you do get big shavings off of cedar, they're a beautiful pinkish color, as I just showed the camera. Diamond parting tool here to start the recess for the mortise and the foot. Skew chisel here to clean up and flatten the mortise. Let me know in the comments if you prefer a mortise or tenon and why. I've been asked that a lot, and I answer it, but it's not as a black and white answer, I guess, for me. So let me know in the comments what you think, what you do. So making the corner curve shape here on the bowl. Trying to refine that. Cleaning out some of the voids with a pick. There was a lot of bark way down in there, and between the pick and the air gun, I think I got most of it. And onto the resin part, using Total Boat medium epoxy because I wanted to finish this as quickly as possible, but still have a little bit of working time. So mixing up the epoxy here and adding some Epoxy pigment. This is the color named Seafoam. It's a very pretty green color. So mixing that in, and then I will be pouring it in the voids. And this did turn out to be a little bit challenging. As you can see on the blank in just a moment, I hot glued on some Total Boat plastic I cut up mixing a mixing container, and it worked okay. It wasn't perfect. If I did it again, I'd probably do it slightly different, but you live and learn. And here I'm using the epoxy to fill in some of the cracks. And after the epoxy has dried overnight, starting with the sanding process here at 80 grit to 120 to 150. And I wish sanding was this quick, but it is not. I actually don't mind sanding. It is just takes a long time to do it correctly. 180. And the air gun really helps in between. This is 220. And the air gun again. And some Starbond CA glue. I am using the black medium thick and some activator here to fill in the cracks that the epoxy didn't quite make it into, or I had turned some away. So the black, I think, gives it some more of an interesting look along with the green. Kind of veiny spider-like, I guess. If you haven't tried Starbond CA glue, there is a link in the video description. It's great stuff. You can get starter kits for a pretty low price. You can get some thin and medium thick. Different colors. They have black, brown, clear. And here, some sanding sealer. Putting one pretty good coat of the sanding sealer on. And after that dries, I will denib it using a Scotch-Brite pad and then move on to the Axe abrasive and Axe polishing paste. And the Axe abrasive paste here, there is a coupon code in the video description. If you want to try Axe, you get a 10% off when you use code PF10 at checkout. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I use it on almost every single project and get great results. So highly recommended if you're looking for something for your turning projects or woodworking projects in general. Onto the Axe polishing paste, one of my favorite parts. Spreading on the polish. Thin coat, I tend to use a little bit too much, I do know that, but it's just really fun to work with and watch the bowl come to life, if you will. Hey, this is the video that I am going to draw a winner from last week's birthday cake bowl. We'll get to that in a little bit. Showing off some of the resin here. Have it flipped around on the 4-jaw chuck. Now that it's reversed in the 4-jaw chuck, I'm using an Easywood Tools carbide tipped tool to slowly flatten out the top because of the unevenness. I didn't want to take too aggressive passes, so just going slow. Hey, if you're watching and you wouldn't mind doing me a favor, I would really appreciate it if you take a moment to click the subscribe button if you haven't already. It's in the lower right hand portion of your screen. It really, really helps me out, so thanks in advance. So now that the bowl is even on the top, I'm starting to hollow out the inside of the bowl. Whoa! After that little accident, we are back. Have it remounted, stronger, I think, in the four-jaw chuck, and speed turned down a little bit. If you notice, before that flew off the lathe, I had turned the speed up to about 1200 RPMs, and I think the four-jaw chuck, I don't think it was quite gripping the right way. I don't think I had pushed the bowl in enough, so my error, I'm sure. So here I'm finalizing the thickness of the bowl, trying to figure out how thick I want the walls to remain. Still a little thick right here, so I keep taking some passes until I get it where I want it. I don't measure it, I go by feel, scientific method as I call it, and starting the sanding process here with 80 grit. And some denatured alcohol to clean the surface of any dust, and there was plenty of it when you turn cedar. And sanding sealer, it's a mixture of 70% sealer and 30% denatured alcohol. And there we have it. Taking the bowl off the lathe and going to try to give a few close-up looks. I really like that seafoam color in the resin. I think there's just enough of it and not too much of it. So I'm happy with the way this one came out. Putting the logo on the bottom, and I will leave a link in the video description to where I got the branding iron. Little sanding sealer over that, and then I'll show some photos here at the end, and at the very, very end I will announce the winner of last week's birthday cake drawing. So hold tight.